The update 32.0 has been released, and it is better this year. Hello everyone, dear friends. You are on the Melonfonk channel, and in this video we will talk about the new update 32.0, which has already been released in Melon Playground, and everything is very interesting there. Do not forget to subscribe and like, and also write your cool comment. It's not difficult for you, but it will be very pleasant for me. Save yourself with tea and coffee and enjoy your viewing. The update 32.0 has been released and it is better this year. Hello everyone, dear friends. You are on the Melonfonk channel, and in this video we will talk about the new update 32.0, which has already been released in Melon Playground, and everything is very interesting there. Do not forget to subscribe and like, and also write your cool comment. It's not difficult for you, but it will be very pleasant for me. Save yourself with tea and coffee and enjoy your viewing. Friends, the update 32.0 has finally been released, and I say without exaggeration that this is the biggest arcade update this year for sure, and you will see for yourself, because the video will be long today. So stock up on chips because you will definitely like them. It will be very interesting. Well, let's talk about everything in order. First, they updated the new icon. Now it looks like this. The icon shows the gamepad as well as the NPC head, and in general it is very cute and characterizes the fact that this update is still the most arcade and large scale, not all the time possible, but this year for sure, and it really struck me. I rate this icon for 10 points. This is a really unusual and interesting icon, and I think you will definitely like it. The name of the update in the changelog is a Liquid Turrets and much more. New content update. And it sounds very loud, and it really is. So let's talk about everything in order. They added new turrets, and before that, I told you that they would add one automatic turret into which you can insert weapons. However, friends, everything turned out even more than I expected. They added as many as 5 new turrets, and they're all very interesting. The first turret is a missile turret, and it really shoots real missiles. Its damage is really colossal and interesting. But spoiler, this is not the most interesting turret in my opinion. But still, it has a place to be. And I think that for various PvE installations, which were not there before, I think it will be perfect. And in general, there is a lot of space for creativity, and I think that you will all be delighted after playing this update. Guys, so far, it hasn't officially been released in the App Store and a Play Market, so you can take this update from me and on the Telegram channel. The link will be in the description of this video. The next turret really surprised me the most, because I didn't expect to see this in the game. This is a healing turret, a very interesting idea. The texture is also very beautiful. In general, I will give the artist 10 points. He really did his best. In general, what is the essence of this equipment? This turret heals our NPCs after they receive damage. That is, if the NPC is alive and whole, then the turret does not react to him in any way. But as soon as he receives any damage, then the automatic healing turret immediately begins its revival procedure. Very cool. All this comes out, cool sounds, cool textures, and cool animation. Really, a very cool turret. The next turret is also quite unusual, and honestly, I didn't expect to see it either. This is a knife turret. This turret is thrown with knives. Very cool, very unusual, but a cool idea, and honestly, the animation really amazed me. After the knife shot, the knives remain on the map. So then after the shot, you have the opportunity to interact with the shells of this turret. Cool turret, I also put 10 points. It seems to me that all turrets deserve 10 points today, because they are really all very interesting and really all very beautiful, cool, and not everyone really likes them. The next turret is a knife turret. This is more of a trap, but a knife one. You know, so it's because when this trap reacts to the NPC, the knives are pulled out of the semicircle and do incredible damage. It looks tough. I will definitely make a video like a top 10 trap for our NPCs, and I think that this trap will definitely get there because it is tough, cool, and generally impresses. Friends, a cool trap, I put 10 points for it, and I think you agree with me. In general, honestly, it seems to me that the video today will be for 20 minutes. I can talk endlessly, because the update is very interesting, but friends, there is still a lot ahead. We will not dwell on this for a long time. The next turret is a modular turret. The next turret is the modular turret. We have already reviewed it in the modular turret. You can insert any weapon. However, this particular turret deserves the lowest rating because it is primarily very buggy. That is, the weapon is placed every other time. Yes, everything works. Everything is fine. However, there are problems here that the developers must fix in the next bug fix. And I think it will not take long, because I think there will be many bugs. So leave comments with bugs about this update. We will count them all, send them to the developers, and solve these problems together. All 6 turrets are peculiar, all very interesting, all with their own sounds, with their own features, and I really like all of them. A very cool update the developers gave us, especially for those who are tired of endless content maker editions and all who want something casual. This is just a dream for you. The next edition is a new weapon called the nail gun. Again, friends, I told you that it would be added to the game, and it was added, but the texture was redone. We thought the texture would be a little different, but overall the nails are very beautiful. The projectiles are also cool, by the way. An interesting fact, and when the nail gun hits a solid texture, it bends like in real life. A very interesting little fact and a very interesting detail that the developers took care of. As for the texture, as for me, it is too gray and too lost against the background of everything. I would make it a little more contrasting. But still, everything is very cool again. This is only my opinion, and it seems to me that the nail gun's a very interesting weapon. I give it, friends, 10 points, and I think you will agree with me. The next addition is the fuel engine. I thought for a long time how it works. But friends, everything turned out very cool. Firstly, they also added a fuel hose. With the help of this fuel hose, you can transfer not only fuel, but also in general pour blood from jars. For example, back into NPCs. We will talk about this later because now I will briefly tell you how the fuel engine works. In general, in order for it to still move, you naturally need to load fuel into it. Very cool mechanisms. I think we will see it soon because firstly, it all works very cool, and it seems to me its principle of operation is really very interesting, and fuel in the game will now really be needed for us to build mechanisms. In order for it to move accordingly, you need to add constant fuel to it. For this, we take fuel barrels or oil cans, which are also in the game, and simply with a fuel hose load more gasoline there. Next, we can set the power through the settings, but the more power, the more consumption. Accordingly, if the power is less, then the consumption is less. The logic is simple, and in general, very effective. And it seems to me very similar to real life. For clarity, I made the simplest mechanism, the simplest mobile device on which we can see how all this works. And it seems to me everything is really very interesting. So the fuel engine, as it seems to me, is one of the most interesting mechanisms that the developers have added recently. Everything is simple, everything is interesting, and everything works very logically. The next addition is the crane. On the crane, there is a valve with which we can shut off the supply of liquid. That is, we connect the pump with a fuel connector, connect the connector to the container with liquid, and then using this valve control the level of supply of a particular liquid. Very convenient, very interesting. The texture is cool, and in general, I think it is also a useful mechanism. Those who will be engaged specifically in mechanisms with liquids, I think this will definitely be useful. Also, friends, they added a new syringe, the anti-freeze syringe. That is, when injecting this syringe, the NPC receives anti-freeze effects, and accordingly freezing is no longer a threat to him. A simple effect. A simple syringe. I think it will not be particularly in demand, however it is there. And fine. The next addition is the syringe gun, essentially. This is a weapon for throwing syringes. How does it work? If you do not load anything into it, then it will throw empty syringes. Yes, they were also added to the game. In order to load them with some effect, you will need ordinary flasks with various effects for this. We connect the fuel hose to the syringe gun and just wait. As soon as the flask is empty, then essentially you can already shoot with syringes. It works very cool, very interesting, and very unusual. Again, we will analyze everything in more detail a little later. I give this addition 10 points, but write your opinion in the comments. The next addition, the servo drive. Another mechanism with the addition of a drive. I think it will be very useful for creating various interesting constructions, various mods, and in general it seems to me it really works cool. You can connect it in different ways, you can come up with a lot of things with it, and again, for this you guys just need your imagination and a little understanding of the mechanics of this mechanism. I only showed one of the ways how it can work. It also has speed settings, and the texture, as for me, is also quite nice and unusual. I also give this mechanism 10 points. Very interesting. Well, and then friends, just an incredible addition. They added juice bags. It is like blood. I think that is also clear. It works on the principle that if your NPC has run out of banal blood, that is, he has a large blood loss and he needs a blood transfusion in order to survive, then you just take a juice bag Then you take a fuel hose and connect it to our NPC, and you essentially just replenish his blood loss. It also works in the opposite direction. You can fill an empty jar with any juice of any NPC. They also added an oil can. It contains oil and it can also be spent. They also added a huge container for collecting a liquid. All liquids can be mixed, and the color of the liquid inside this container will change. There is also an indication of how much is already filled in this container. The texture is very mysterious, beautiful, interesting, and unusual, even a little scary. I don't know why the number of this container is 0027, but it is still there. They also added a liquid duplicator. I don't know what it is for yet. It needs to be figured out. You can also fill it with various liquids. They also added a watering can for collecting liquid. It is intended so that the liquid does not spill. However, how it works is not yet very clear. All this can also break. All, guys, very difficult. You just need to try this update, feel everything. With a lot of updates. All this we will, again, analyze in more detail in my next videos. But again, to cover all this in one video will be very difficult. If you guys figured it out, then write in the comments a full guide to this update. I ask you very much, I will be very pleased, and if, of course, it is not difficult for you. Because there are many additions that I myself do not understand. They are complex and even a little incomprehensible. They also added another rope duplicator mechanism. It also needs to be analyzed separately. It is not very clear yet, and it is probably worth analyzing it in a separate video. They also added a new clothing editor. More precisely, they added new living templates. If we talk about changes, they added outlining of objects with a rope. They also added a hard shell from a syringe. They also added juice squeezing effects and fruit breaking effects, the setting of the color of the hat and the party horn. And the logic of playing the soundtrack in the editor was also slightly changed. Now the music starts much earlier. If before it took about a minute, now it plays after 15 seconds, which is much better, as it seems to me. In this regard, the developers did well. Guys, this is briefly, again, many items I just did not analyze completely, because they are really complex. And then this video would be, I think, 40 minutes long, and no one wants that. I think you definitely don't want to watch a 40-minute video. You still want to just immerse yourself a little in the update. Again, in all future videos, we will analyze what was added in this update. And in terms of quantity and scale, it's probably even more than Update 27.0, because there are so many features, some gameplay and arcade editions, that you just can't count them on your fingers. Before, there were pinpoint big updates, like the map editor, the world editor. And that, of course, is very cool, but the developers just forgot about arcade updates. And this update just seemed to put a cross on People Playground. But now I think no one will dare to say that People Playground is cooler than Melon Playground. I think it is obviously not so. And Melon Playground has long surpassed People. And I think that is obvious. Well, and with that, dear friends, everything comes to an end. You are on the Melonfonk channel. And remember, my friend, as always, see you in a few days.